The following program contains names, places, and events that have been anonymized or fictionalized for the purposes of protection and safety. The following program is provided for entertainment purposes only, and any commentary from the hosts are strictly conjecture and should not be held as making any definitive statements about the truth or identity of any particular individuals or circumstances. If you or a loved one are involved in an abusive relationship, please call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for support.
Happy Dating Detectives Monday.
Oh, this story is like nothing we've had.
Today's episode, you guys, is like dogfish to the max, but like throwback dogfish.
This dogfish story starts in the year 1952. Yes, 1952. How about that?
Starts in the year 1952.
Ends now.
And we're just now doing a podcast on it.
Dude, well, first of all, thank you to Taylor, who is going to, you'll meet her in a second. She's a listener and is our amazing guest today. And I'm excited for you all to hear her story because it's a different perspective, but mind blowing. I don't even know what else to say. And then we also have
people and time that it spans is crazy to me.
This episode also deals with adoption and adoption trauma, biological ancestry, and we talk a lot about the emotional side of that. So just be aware. And then we have another type of investigator that worked on this case, and he's going to come into play and talk to us a little later on in the story. So you'll have two for the price of one. What a Monday.
So a totally different kind of investigation. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, we did this last episode, I guess. I love the idea of if you have a WTF moment throughout listening to the story.
Yeah, what was your WTF moment?
Yeah, we love that. Comment on Instagram, Dating Detectives Podcast, or Facebook or TikTok, or on whatever platform you listen to. If they have a comment section, you get it. You know how to do this. But just write WTF moment and then tell us when your brain exploded and when you were shocked the most, because I think that's fun. It's also different for everybody based on your experience. Some of you are like, no, I knew exactly what was going on because nothing's getting by me. And me over here is constantly just like, what?
I was like, wait, what? Wait, hold on. Wait, what?
I also should have mentioned, you can obviously comment all of your thoughts on our Patreon, which we love. Patreon is just, you get bonus episodes, 2 bonus episodes a month. It's only $5 a month. Or if you want to do the $9 tier, then you get everything on Patreon plus no ads.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. But we just had book club. So thank you to those of you who came to our Patreon book club. And
book club was amazing.
It's the best. So just join Patreon if you need a little more dating detectives in your life. And I think you do. I think my intuition is telling me that you do. And I trust her. I always trust her. Anything else before we hand it over to Taylor?
I think we need to hand it over to Taylor. You guys hold on to your pants. Hi, Taylor.
Hi there.
We have Taylor with us, and she's going to share her journey with us. Taylor, will you please take us away on your journey?
Well, it all starts with a phone call. I'm raising my grandson, and he goes to school, and I went to pick him up, and when I was sitting in line, my phone rang, and it said a police station, and I'm like, ooh.
Like on the caller ID?
Yes.
Okay.
And, I try to stay out of trouble, so I like,
what did you do?
What is the police station calling me for? So I answer it, and I said, hello? And they're like, is this Taylor? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, well, I've been looking to talk to somebody in your family. And I'm like, okay. And she said, well, I believe I know what happened to your grandfather. And I was like, what? Like, okay, this is a scam. And my uncle happened to be in the room with her. And he's like, Taylor, it's true. She's got a story. So I guess I should start from the beginning and tell you where it starts.
Yes,
when I was growing up, there was a huge family mystery as my grandpa disappeared, and it happened in 1952. For most of my life, I did not know anything about what happened to my grandfather, My grandmother did not have a husband with her. He wasn't around. And we weren't supposed to say anything. We weren't supposed to ask our dads. It was very mysterious. And so I don't know that we ever had a conversation about him disappearing until I was probably a teenager, maybe 12, 13. You know, you have to do family trees. And so we have this family tree and you can't put your grandpa in there because he's gone. But, you know, you hear bits and pieces from family members and then you put it all together and realize that, you know, it's a painful story. So he disappeared. And it happened one Sunday. The family was getting ready to have breakfast. And of course, a few of the kids were outside doing chores. And Grandpa, he said, well, you kids go in and get ready for breakfast. And I'm going to take the cows and put them in the back field. And I'll be in about 20 minutes. Well, 20 minutes came and passed and he never came back.
Wow.
So, of course, there was a lot of land there. So they were concerned that he fell or got hurt. Sometimes in the country, there's old wells that nobody covered up or anything. And so they were like, well, maybe he fell in that. But he never came. He never came back. And they got the police and neighbors and everything and walked the property. And when they did, they found nothing, not any trace whatsoever.
He's gone.
He's just gone, like vanished, you know?
What?
So, of course, people were speculating and saying all kinds of stuff, but nobody was really sure what happened to him. And they put it in the paper. They had all kinds of people talking and looking for him, and they thought maybe he had amnesia, and just all kinds of things that people were talking about. When my grandfather played cards, he played like every weekend, and he was a good gambler, and he won a lot of money. But there was a time when we thought maybe he owed somebody a lot of money, you know, maybe he didn't win. And so maybe somebody took him out because of that.
Oh, wow.
You know,
That would make
we
sense,
thought
sadly.
that could have been part of it. Or, you know, we thought he might have messed around with somebody's wife and somebody took him out, you know. My one uncle, it's such a sad story, but he was 9. And he was one of the children that my grandpa said, go in the house, get ready for breakfast. And I'll be back in 20 minutes. And he always said that he wished as a child that he would have stayed or went walking with Grandpa so he knew where he was. And he carried that through years, but yeah, it was painful for years, right?
Well, he's
Absolutely.
so young. How can he know anything else?
And my dad at 5, he used to have nightmares. And I didn't hear that from my dad. I heard it from my aunt, but he had nightmares over and over and over for many years. But my grandmother had to go to work. And so she went, she worked a couple really hard jobs. She did some cleaning. She worked in a nursing home, you know, doing whatever she could to get by. And some of my uncles went to their older sisters to live because times were just really hard. And for as long as I can remember, my mom had always said, don't say anything. We couldn't watch Little House on the Prairie.
Wait, I might not know. Why not? Is there something about a dad that disappears in Little House on the Prairie?
My grandmother grew up Amish, and so she lived a very conservative life. When she married my grandpa, they kind of what they call jumped the fence. He was able to drive a car and do things like that. That's a term that they use here in Amish land, that when they jump the fence or they jerk over, that's what they call it. And so they lived conservative, but they had 13 children and they just lived on a farm. And my grandmother at the time, she was just home with all her kids. So as we got older, we had to ask a lot of questions. My mom wouldn't even say anything. She just would be like, we don't need to discuss it. And we would get our families together like for Christmas or whatever, and the kids would always talk. They'd be like, what are we going to do? How are we going to, we need to do a seance and try to talk to Grandpa, you know?
Oh my gosh.
Because we
They were like,
thought
this is the only way we're getting the truth.
We're like, I mean, the youngest kids, the last 6 kids, they were all men. So we figured out that my grandmother, or that our parents, the moms got together and said, we need to tell the kids not to talk about it. So we all knew that we're not to talk about it. So we talked amongst ourselves, and my grandmother had 52 grandchildren.
Wow.
God.
That's
Yes.
nuts.
So we had a big family, very big. And sometimes when we were all together, just talking back and forth, or, trying to figure out what, none of our parents were talking. So we kind of made our own stuff up, and we're like, somebody took him out. Somebody took him out. But it would kind of get exciting because it was something that we weren't allowed to talk about. And we would be really hush hush when the parents came around.
I often talk about how financial independence and financial education is such a huge part of freedom. And especially as women, it's so important to take ownership of that in a world where for a long time women weren't even allowed to do that. That's why I really love Ava, because one part of finances that is sometimes difficult to understand is credit. You don't always realize how your credit can impact you for better and for worse until it's too late. And Ava makes it really easy to build your credit if you need to do that quickly. It's a credit building app that's designed to work fast and help your credit score where it really matters. So your credit score can start climbing with almost zero effort. Instead of a secured card that locks up a deposit and takes weeks, Ava can approve you in 5 minutes with up to $2,500 credit limit and no credit check. So then when you start paying your monthly subscriptions like usual, the Ava Credit Builder card reports your on-time payments to all major credit bureaus, helping you build solid credit history quickly. Some Ava members improve their scores by an average of 30 points in 30 days. It reports your rent, utility, your phone bills automatically, even up to 24 months of past payments. So your everyday payments help build your credit faster. And once you have that, you have so much more freedom to make decisions that are best for you. So take control of your credit today. Download the Ava app, AVA, and when you join using our promo code DATING20, you'll get 20% off your first year, monthly or annual, your choice. Again, grab the Ava app and use our promo code DATING20 so they know you heard it from us, and you'll get 20% off any plan for up to a year. That's promo code DATING20. Thanks to Ava. Now go get yourself good credit. I'm going to be really real with you. And I'm not making this up. This morning, I was getting dressed and I put on some Skims underwear and I was like, this is the most comfortable underwear I think I own. And I really had that thought. And I was walking towards the bathroom. I was like, I'm not wearing any pants and I'm as happy as can be. That genuinely happened. Skims is truly the most comfortable intimates that I have. The one I'm currently wearing, this is how close we are. I'm like, let me tell you what underwear I'm wearing, is the Fits Everybody thong. It's like a nude color. I love it. I can wear it under anything and it's like barely there. I have one of their push-up bras because I do love a little oomph. I also have a lot of friends who have had so much trouble finding a good bra postpartum if they've had fluctuations in their weight, and they really only find the fit with Skims. I also love their bralettes. Everything is so soft. And I think it's hard to find something that has a wide range of sizes and a wide range of colors. It's very inclusive, and that's one of my favorite things about it. So you should shop my favorite bras and underwear at skims.com. After you place your order, be sure to let them know that we sent you. You can select podcast in the survey and just be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you are looking for the perfect gift for your Valentine or for yourself, because we are our forever Valentines, the Skims Valentine shop is now open. So wink, wink, go have a little fun there. Thanks, Skims, for sponsoring this episode.
So, anyways, family just kept moving on, and there got to be quite a few years, and we all got older as kids, and a couple times we get together and we're like, what in the world happened to him? Why is nobody done anything?
What happened to Grandpa?
It just really was
What happened to
crazy,
Grandpa?
And I think it was important because it was a mystery and we all wanted it answered before our parents and even our grandmother at the time, before they died. I really felt
That
like
makes sense
no
to
matter
me.
what the story end was, they need an
Yes.
answer. They need closure on it. So one of my cousins and I were like, you know what? We're going to go up to the police station. We're just going to ask them. It's an open case, right? It's still missing and we don't have an answer. So we went up to the police station and they took us back into this one office. And one of the police officers there, she's like, well, you know, we don't really have anything. Have you talked to your aunts and uncles? I'm like,
Oh, God.
we can't even talk to our dad. What are you talking about? And she's like, when a new sheriff comes into town, they just get rid of all that stuff. So we don't have anything. We don't have any records. We don't have any report. I'm like, how could you not still have a report? And she's like, well, new sheriff comes in town, they just get rid of all the old stuff. So we're like, okay. So we were walking out of the police station and I looked at my cousin and she looked at me and I go, did you believe that? And she's like, no. And I said, they don't get rid of stuff. This is crazy. So we went home. We're like, what? We don't know where else to go. There just really isn't anywhere to go, So we both went our separate ways and each were trying to come up with ways to find out information. And it was about a year, almost exactly a year. And I decided I'm calling that police station again. And so I did. Unbeknownst to me, my aunt had called there as well. But when I called, they give me this detective. And I said, I'd like to talk to somebody about my grandfather. And right away, he's like, are you one of the girls that came up here last year?
Oh, what do they know?
And I'm like, that's what I was like, what? Like, yes, I was. And I thought to myself, how would you remember that? I'm sure you got other stuff to do. And so I said, well, last time when I was there, they said you didn't have anything. And he said, well, you didn't talk to the right person.
Oh.
And I said, well, who am I talking to now? I mean, and so he said, are you related to so-and-so? And I said, yes, that's my aunt. He said, well, she's coming up, whatever the day was, a few days later. And if you want to come up with her, you can look at the report that we have. And I was like, I'll be there. So I called some of my cousins and a couple of my aunts, and I said, meet us at the police station because we're going to see that report. Well, we all got there and walked in, and he looked at me, and I said, we're here to see that report. And he goes, I don't have enough room for all of you guys. I said, we don't. I thought it was
You're
just
like, we can take
you
turns.
and your aunt. And I said, we don't care. We'll sit out here in the foyer. So we did. We sat out there. We covered the whole place. And he brought the report out there. Now, mind you, it was about, 4 pages of paragraphs just typed up like an old report. So everybody was reading it. Everybody was taking their turn reading it. My one cousin was writing stuff down. And we had been there, half an hour, 45 minutes. Here he comes. Are you guys done? I'm like, no. And he
Were
said,
you finding information that you hadn't
well,
already
there was
known?
some stories that we had heard, like, just bits and pieces. But what we noticed the most of that report was some people that they should have interviewed, they did not interview. So either
like who? Like family members?
Yeah, like even my grandmother. And so I'm like,
they never interviewed even her?
Well, we didn't know if they hadn't interviewed her or if they didn't have that part of the report there. We thought maybe some of the report was missing. So he came out and I told him, he came out the second time. I said, you know what? How about I come get you when we're done? Because
yeah,
we'll
be here a while.
We're still busy. And I could tell he was getting a little anxious, but he was kind of a pompous ass. He said, guess you should have brought a camera. You could take a picture of it. I was so
Are you allowed
mad.
to do
I'm
that?
like, you are so rude.
That
and
is
I
rude.
said,
Also,
What
are
are
you
they
allowed to do that?
hiding?
because they wouldn't be, we couldn't get copies of it. It
Huh?
was crazy. And so we just, like I said, my cousin wrote and she just wrote really fast. And so anyways, we all left there like, why didn't they interview Grandma? Why didn't they interview? And then,
And just remind me, how many years after his disappearance is this now?
many, let's see, probably 50 years.
Okay.
And
So it's been a
so
while.
we're like,
Weird that they'd still be sketchy about it.
yes, very. I'm like, who are they protecting? It's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So in between that and this visit, I had relatives that were contacting the FBI, had wrote letters, had called, and they all got the same response like, well, after he's 100 years old, then we can check, we can check it. What? Like, you're kidding me.
Why?
I
What?
don't know.
Mackenzie,
They're
have you
just,
ever heard that?
No.
yeah. So we're like, that doesn't make sense. But, we didn't know where to go, what to do with it. It's like, kind of the FBI. So again, we just went home and we're like, what is the big secret? We know that this police station is hiding something. We don't know what it is or who they're protecting. We didn't know if it was judges or sheriffs or what it was. But when my family and I were there at the police station and we were leaving, the front gal was so rude. And I asked her what her name was. And she told me, and I said, thank you, because when I get channel 16 over here, I want them to know who they can be thanking. Because channel 16 is our local company TV station. And I was serious. So I did get a hold of them. And they came and did a story on him. And we went out to the property. They talked to my aunt and my uncle. And so they didn't really like the fact that happened, but they did call a meeting with two of my aunts, my husband at that time, and my cousin and her husband. So we all got
This
in.
is the police department calls
Mhm.
this meeting.
The current, at the time, current sheriff. So we went in and I thought, I don't know what they're going to do or what they're going to say, but we'll just see what they have to say. And so he started talking. He said, well, let me get my detective in here. So he brings him in. I had never met him. He introduced himself and said hello to my aunts. And they wanted to hear what the station had, what they had done, what they could do. And that detective was so rude to my aunts. I mean, he just was like, well, I've heard all kinds of stories. I even heard that he was picked up by aliens. And I was furious because
That's
I'm like,
their
Oh my
job to
God.
find out
Yeah,
what the
that's your
story
job.
is. Like, of course you hear theories.
I'm like, he said it like it was a joke. And I'm like, you realize this is their father that you're talking
Yeah.
about? How inconsiderate. I mean, I was beyond. And my cousin's husband was like, somebody's going to go to jail tonight. It's probably going to be Taylor.
No.
But,
No.
which,
You were like, holy
Oh my God.
so we left there and felt nothing. Like, this is useless. Talking to them is just really, and even the channel 16, when they went, they felt like there was definitely something they're hiding, but they couldn't figure it out. And I said, they're protecting somebody, who are they protecting? So I was talking to some people, older people that lived in the area, and they had given me a list of names that used to play cards with my grandfather in the club. It was kind of a secret area. And so I
Grandma's favorite group of people.
Yes, absolutely. And they were really some prominent people in the town. And so I started looking through and I found a son to one of the men on there. And he's an older gentleman, so I called him and I told him who I was and that I was looking to find out something about my grandfather, that I had heard that his dad played cards with my grandfather and that they knew each other really well. And he goes, I don't know nothing. And I'm like,
What?
Wait, what? Just all like, just
yeah,
like,
very.
okay.
Like, he definitely knew who my grandfather was. And he said, I know nothing.
So what you're saying is you know something.
Yeah. So I
I
said to
feel like
him,
I just read this book for book club. Like, this feels like a murder mystery.
Yeah, yes.
it's crazy. I was trying to put the pressure on him. And I said, I just figured somebody might want to get something off their chest before they leave this earth, because it's apparently a big secret. And he's like, nope, don't know anything. So I was like, okay, dead end. And so the family was just at a standstill. We're like, we're never going to know. We all just need to understand that this is a mystery that we're probably never going to know. And as hard as it was, it just right here in the back of your mind, like, man, what happened to him? You could just drive yourself crazy thinking about it. But I'm busy with my teenage boy, and I'm like, I need to quit, it just is, we're done. Still had a big pile of stuff, notes and pictures and stuff like that. One reunion that we had, we decided, screw it. We're going to bring him up. We're going to take all these pictures. We're going to take all this information, and we'll see what the dads and the uncles and aunts, what they say. And actually, they were very intrigued. They
wanted to know too.
Yeah, and besides our dads, the youngest ones, the other older ones, they were like, "Yeah, what do you want to know? We'll tell you about Grandpa, whatever." And we're like, "What?" Like,
why was it such a hush hush thing for so long if they were actually okay to?
Yeah, I think.
What do these people know? What do they know?
Yeah. Well, some people did think the older ones probably knew. I'm not sure on that because I had some conversations with my older aunts and they were in pain,
I mean, it makes sense that you just wouldn't want to trigger pain among the family.
Right.
But they were excited to see some of the pictures, and some of the relatives had never seen any pictures of him. And so we took a bunch of copies, and it was really something, I think it might have healed some pain in a sense, but still no answers at all. And when you think about it, I mean, he left in 1952 at 46 years old. And that is just a long time to be living and reliving and all kinds of questions. These kids had my dad and my aunts and uncles. I mean, they're just like reliving all this stuff. And even as they got older, even my dad now, he just doesn't want to talk about it. So we don't talk about it, not to him.
This episode is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack, hydration, and coffee sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom coffees are the delicious low-sugar brain and body fuel you need to win your day. We love snacks here at the Dating Detectives, and once you start carrying IQ Bar's plant protein bars in your bag, you've got the smarter snack choice with plenty of plant protein, tons of fiber, and no added sugar. Also, all IQ Bar products are packed with clean, delicious ingredients that keep you physically and mentally fit. They have magnesium, lion's mane, and so much more. So if you're on a health kick or just generally interested in feeling your best, IQ Bar is a great way to go. I'm a big rehydration pack person. So the IQ Mix is a zero sugar drink mix that hydrates with electrolytes, improves your mood, boosts your clarity. And mushroom coffee is a very healthy alternative in the morning. IQ Joe, it's designed to help with mental clarity, and it's packed with 200 milligrams of natural caffeine. Plus, it comes in 4 different flavors that are better than any brewed coffee. The new year gives us all a chance to reset. Maximize your brain and body's potential with IQ Bar's protein bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Their ultimate sampler pack includes all 3, so that's a great way to get into it. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the ultimate sampler pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text TDD to 64,000. Text TDD to 64,000. That's TDD to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
So, anyways, we all just kind of let it go. We just had to not focus on it because it got out of control.
It could be very all-consuming.
Yes, very consuming.
So years and years pass, and we just accept that we probably will never know what happened.
And so back to the phone call. I was sitting there and I was in disbelief that someone would really know the answer. It was just like out of the blue. Like, I'm like, how can this be? And I didn't want to get excited about it, but then I was like, well, what has she got to say?
And now that I know leading up to it, this is not a detective that you had met before. This is a completely new one.
No, I did not know who she was.
Okay. And how much time had passed since they had
years.
rudely, passive aggressively nudged you out of their
Years. And she had nothing to, she wasn't there. She was actually in the service. So she actually said, hey, we'd like to come and talk to the family. Can you get people together? Well, my house is probably one of the bigger ones. So I said, yep, I'll get them together. So I got a hold of people and I said, look, I just received a call from a detective at the county and they know what happened to our grandfather. And they're like, well, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to hear it when I hear it with you guys because I wanted it to be, I'm sure if I would have asked her, she would have told me, but I wanted to hear it with everyone else,
With the family, yeah.
Right. So
wow.
I said,
I don't know if I could have waited.
I know.
Well, when it's really sensitive to everyone and you've all been fighting together to try to find the end, you want to all be together when you hear it. It's just, that's how I felt about it. So
they're lucky to have you.
So I told them, come to my house, be here by noon because they're going to be here. And to make sure that you tell your siblings, whatever, we try to get we have a family Facebook page. So I had put it on there, but I started calling people because I wanted to make sure everybody heard. So they start showing up. Of course, we only had one uncle. He was in his 80s and he wanted to know what was going on with his dad. When he got here, they said that they would talk to him in private just out of courtesy because it was his father and they wanted him to hear it first. And so they went up to my grandson's room and his two daughters were with them and they told him what happened. When he came downstairs, we all had not heard what had happened, but we could see on his face that he was just in shock. So they started telling us and it was really amazing to hear what people can do, What
happened to Grandpa?
What happened to Grandpa?
My grandfather, up till this point, I have to say, we all thought he was murdered for his money. The night before he left, he had sold hogs and he had made a lot of money. He had cash on him. But when he left, he prepared nothing. He didn't take any clothes. He didn't take anything. So we all thought somebody murdered him. Somebody did. We just don't know who. And,
Oh, so he was murdered?
No. No, he was not. Actually, he was discovered by DNA. There was
like that, alive?
Yes. Well, he wasn't alive then, but yes, he was found because of his DNA.
So he was dead, but he was not murdered.
Right. Well, he had passed away because he was older, but yes.
Oh.
But I'm going to let Randy explain that part of the story because he is a huge part of what our family is very grateful that he does what he does. He's very good at it. And he's the one who opened this case wide open.
And so now we have Randy,
okay.
And Randy is a genealogist. And he's going to walk us through how he got involved in this case. And he's going to tell us what happened to Grandpa. Thank goodness. Important context before he jumps in. Stoltz is Taylor's family name. I know she's mentioned it. I'm just reminding you. It is anonymized, but that will come up. So Stoltz, Taylor's family. Also, we worked with Randy a lot before recording because genealogy and ancestry plays a huge part in this, and it's confusing, quite frankly. So we'll definitely explain it for people that don't understand how it works, such as myself. But we'll also hit the main points as we go and make sure we make it very clear what happened to Grandpa, because we're all dying to know.
Okay, so Randy, who is Randy? Welcome, Randy.
You need to tell us who you are, what your job is, and explain it for a layman.
Yes,
because I don't fully understand what you do all the time.
Hi, My name's Randy Davis. I'm an amateur genetic genealogist. I use DNA to sort people's family out. And it's not a job, it's not a hobby, it's just what I do. And I don't make any money on it. I don't charge people anything to do this. But in today's world, we're finding that DNA tests are very, very popular. Statistics say about 10% of Americans have tested. And there's groups throughout social media because people get the results and they look at it and they go, who are all these? My rough guess is somewhere between 1 in 10 and 1 in 7 people are not calling dad the right person.
Oh my
Incredible.
gosh.
Wow. That's insane, you guys.
There's hundreds of people that come on social media every day say, I just got my DNA results back and I don't know who these people are. I don't know who half of these people.
Oh, yeah.
So how do they find you?
I see these people on social media and privately I'll send them a message and say, if you're looking for some help, just explaining your DNA, getting to understand it, or going further and digging in.
Well,
Yeah.
you are an interesting kind of investigator because you,
Yeah.
I mean, you are absolutely an investigator.
I call myself a researchist because
A researchist. That's what I call myself too when I'm on Instagram.
So then how were you able to help Taylor?
Yeah, take us through your whole story because you kind of found
Yeah.
her.
Well, to tell the story of Taylor and finding her grandfather, it all goes down to a lady named Clarissa. She was the hinge pin that made all this possible. If it wasn't for Clarissa looking for her parents, I definitely wouldn't have found him. Originally, I was contacted by a person that had pulled me in to help her on a couple of other cases. I think we'd done 3 or 4 together. So she had been in contact with a lady named Clarissa, and Clarissa had asked her to help her. So she called me and she says, I've got this case and I need some help on it. I said, okay. The person was named Clarissa and gave me the basic of Clarissa was an adoptee searching for her parents. She was in her early 50s, and I was sent access to her ancestry account. There's a login where you can especially log in. Not, you don't get access to their credit card details and stuff like that. You get to see their DNA. So I looked at that and I thought, yeah, okay, well, let's have a go at this. And the tree was already started. I added into it. We got to looking at it a little more and more. And there were not that many DNA matches. There were some. There was like 6 significant ones that all kind of centered around this family named them Stoltz. And there were a couple were named Stoltz, Jamie and a Michael, and then 4 others had, there were descendants from the females in the line didn't carry that same surname, but they were related to that surname. They were related to the Stoltzes. And the 2 significant matches were like 550 and 580 centimorgans, which was probably Clarissa's mother and this person's mother were first cousins. And then the next generation down, they're called a first cousin once removed. Yeah, it's for
Centimorgans.
cousins. When your parents are cousins, they're a child, and you are first cousins once. And that 550, 580 fit quite well with that. The amount of centimorgans that you share with someone
Are you
like
saying centimorgans, like
Yeah.
centimeter, but centimorgan?
correct.
Okay.
A gentleman named Morgan figured out how the science worked, and he called it
Okay.
and it's a centimorgan.
Good for Morgan.
Yeah.
Centimorgan. Okay, cool. All right, nice.
So how many centimorgans do I share with my biological mom?
3,450.
Period. Look at that. Randy knows his stuff.
Wow.
Approximately plus or minus 10, 20. So
Okay.
you and a sister will share about half of that. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but because it's very random. the way DNA is distributed from generation to generation, parent to child.
Sure.
It's not like, boom, you get exactly half and it's this much. Doesn't work that way.
Right.
Otherwise, you'll look identical to all your siblings. So the 550 and the 580 persons were good to have. They were kind of close. And by looking at it, I was seeing that everybody was in this one family several generations down. And that these two people being first cousins once removed said that this was going back another generation where the links to Clarissa would be. The two gentlemen I had, their grandfather and his wife had 12 kids. So I'm thinking like, okay,
Wow.
this Clarissa is a descendant of one of these 12 kids. Maybe not direct, not a child, could be a grandchild, but I wasn't too sure at that point. The way it was stacking up was that she was a little bit more distant. And so it was working out, you know, it was a bit slow. And the colleague from Florida informed me that this probably wasn't her type of case, that this isn't what she wanted to do. She's extremely good at going through records and building trees, but pulling heavy on the DNA side, which is really about all I could see that we had. If you don't know who you are, building a tree is almost impossible. You don't know anybody's name to put in there.
Yeah, you need some kind of point of reference.
Exactly. And until you've got that really solidly established, you're going nowhere
Right.
building a tree. It's really
Oh,
frustrating.
man.
I wasn't overly optimistic at that point due to the low amount of matches. You need more data. You know, you just got to get raw data and then mold it and
There
look
is
at different perspectives. So I needed more data. So there's various companies that do testing, that do the DNA testing. And some are very tight. They think like you get to see our results only. Others, like MyHeritage, you can send us your data, a raw DNA file that you had analyzed at ancestry.com or 23andMe, and send it to us, and we will show you who matches on that. So I told Clarissa, I said, this is what I'd like you to do. Download your raw DNA file and we'll upload it to MyHeritage and we'll see if there's any matches there. And all we're looking for is more data. We're on the scratch. And
right.
we did that. 2 days later, she sends me a note. She says, oh, my heritage results are available. What do I do? Like, oh, that was quick. Good. I said, well, give me access. She gave me permissions to access her files. And it was just this big boom. There's this batch that's 936 centimeters. Wow.
Wow.
And that's huge.
That's someone at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they're close.
Yeah.
So I was like, who is this? And well, his name was Robin. She was about 60 to 65. The age is huge. You know, when you're trying to identify an unknown person, age is a big point. So it's this person with this amount of DNA at this age group, cross-plotted the two, and I'm not coming up with it. I'm real confused a bit. Who could this be? I looked, and she actually had a couple of the Stoltzes that were on MyHeritage, and she had a couple of them as matches. Like, what? She's a Stoltz. How did? Who?
Wait, so just why did that confuse you? Because you'd already seen the name Stoltz come up.
Yeah.
So seeing it here.
And seeing it there, I wasn't sure which side of the family anybody was on at this point. I didn't know if Stoltz was on her paternal or maternal side. And equally, I didn't know when I got to MyHeritage whether this 936 was on maternal or paternal. And I went to a website. It's called DNApainter.com. And it's a series of genealogical tools that can be used. And one of them is called the Shared Centimorgan Project. where you enter in the amount of centimorgans, the 936, and it spits out. It's a probabilistic calculator, and it spits out at according to probability what that relationship is. Now, there's a huge overlap in different relationships sharing the same amount. So, first
Yeah.
cousin, a half aunt, a half great aunt, half uncle, because it was the woman, I knew it fell into the aunt part. That was easy. And given the 60 over Robin had over, and the age, I thought, well, all right, let's plug this in and see what it says. And it came back and it said, well, you're on the borderline, but it could be a half great aunt.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, all right. I went back to my heritage and I looked again and I noticed this lady had a two-person tree started, which a lot of people do. They put parents' names in. After that, they don't really know much else to put in. And I looked,
Right.
and it said that the father's name was Clifford.
Okay.
So I thought, all right, so who's Clifford? I didn't recognize his surname, and like, that doesn't fit. I went back and searched all the matches. She had 40,000 matches on Ancestry, and I searched Ancestry,
Oh,
and that name did not come up. I'm like,
And Clifford, his last name.
right,
It's not Stoltz, right?
yeah. No, he was not a Stoll.
No, not at all. Okay. Just,
Or-
I'm like, I don't even know where I would start if I was making a chart right now. So we're trying to keep it straight, but I think I'm with you.
And that's the problem is that you get this little bit here and this little bit here, and you're not sure how they meld together. Or do they fit at all?
Okay.
All I could see was that, okay, we've got 936.
sometimes you're in a rabbit hole and you don't even realize it.
Yeah. If the audience is confused right now, guys, that means you're normal.
Right.
Everybody's confused. And Clarissa's getting pretty frustrated. She had started by opening up Ancestry with kind of an expectation that it was just going to go, ta-da, here's mom and dad. And
Doesn't
because she
work
had
like that.
40,000 people that she had didn't know one of them, didn't recognize any names, and she didn't understand centimorgans, so she was completely lost.
Yeah.
Well, I went back to DNA Painter, thankfully, and there's a function in it called WATO. What are the odds? And it's a probabilistic calculator. Now, as investigators, you do phone and tracking the phone and the amount of signals and stuff that goes on. This works basically in the same way. You have towers that have signals, and where the phone is, to one tower, there's a strong signal, to another tower is a smaller signal. Smaller signal means that the phone is a farther distance away, right? And they draw circles from one tower and the other tower, where the two circles cross, that's where the phone is. And Hinato does basically the same thing. I plugged in the tree that had the various matches. And by doing that, the amount of DNA that she shared with each match, the farther away she was from the match, the smaller the centimorgans. And of course, the larger the number, the closer she was. I pointed this out, and it spits out she's a great niece to the 936. So, boom. Okay.
That's amazing.
Hey guys, it's Hannah from the future. I'm going to jump in a few times during Randy's explanation to translate for the girls because we were confused and you might be as well, and that's okay. So I'll just recap things to make sure we're all on the same page. This is what we know thus far. Clarissa is looking for her parents. There is not a DNA match close enough to tell us who her biological parents are. The closest DNA match that there is a woman named Robin. She's in her 60s. She lives in Florida. And that was what he was saying, had a ton of the Morgan things, the centimorgans. Robin's father is Clifford. And he knows this not because we have Clifford's DNA, but just because Robin has shared her family tree somewhere. He then used a probability calculator that genealogists use, and Randy explained the probability calculator. If you understood all of that, you're amazing, and I am inspired by you. If you didn't understand that, you just need to know that it's accurate and that it told him Robin is Clarissa's great aunt. So now we'll head back to Randy because he's trying to figure out how could Clifford and Clarissa not be on any family tree together, not have any connection anywhere when Clarissa has this match with his daughter.
My only thought was that perhaps of the 12 children, there was another child that, and I'm like, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. If she's a half great aunt, she's not the granddaughter or great granddaughter the way we thought, because there's a half relationship in there. Somewhere
Right.
there's somebody else is involved.
Oh
So
my
Robin,
gosh.
for the names, Robin is Clarissa's half great aunt,
Correct.
is what you've learned.
Correct.
The odds are saying that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
But you don't know how that really
but I'm not, well,
connects to Clifford.
This is a probabilistic calculator. It's got a margin of error to it. So is that absolute
Sure.
fact? No. But is it worth a hint that I'm going to chase? I'm like,
Yes.
okay.
It's something.
Well, what's going on in the other, I'm working 3 angles at the same time. While I'm doing that with Clarissa, I find out that she has a name and her original birth certificate. And I'm like,
Oh.
when were you going to tell me this?
Yeah, I was going to say, it feels relevant.
I feel like you should have led with that.
Did you, does all matter? And I'm like, yeah, probably. It would be
Yeah. No, that matters.
And
So what does it say?
it gave her mother's name and no father's name.
Oh,
Or
okay.
name, there was a blank on it, but it gave the mother's name. So I'm chasing the surname for that, and her mother's name was Bernice. And I started chasing Bernice, and then I'm coming up with nothing. And on another avenue, I'm talking to a couple of the Stoltzes online, where I have found them on Reddit, for one. And he's telling me about things that had happened in the family and how his great grandfather had disappeared.
Oh.
What happened to Grandpa?
What happened to Grandpa?
They had no idea. Nobody had any idea.
No one knows.
To move the cattle from one field to another was going to be back in 20 minutes. Never came home. And no, they never found hide nor hair of him. All sorts of rumors, a lot of speculation, different things, but he just disappeared. And
When you heard that, were you like, I need to crack this case?
No,
Or
no,
did you
no,
have confidence that you would? No.
that has nothing to do with the DNA. At that point, I didn't think. So,
Right.
I was like, yeah, all right. That's interesting. And I then came across an adoption record for Bernice.
Bernice being
Okay.
the mother of Clarissa.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she was adopted as well.
Did she
So
know that?
Melissa didn't know that. I found that out in searching this.
Oh, wow.
I found it. And she was born to a Stoltz.
Bernice is a Stoltz.
Her mother was one of the 12 children.
Oh my God, Lanta.
So her
Okay.
Clarissa's grandmother was one of the 12 Stoltz children.
And the children are the children of this disappearing grandfather, right?
Yeah.
No.
and
We don't. Oh, yeah.
The disappearing grandfather, Ralph Stoltz, he had all these kids and then disappeared.
So many
At
kids.
this point,
Right.
I think I need to go have a beer here. This is getting serious.
This is a lot.
Okay, guys, I'm back to explain that because when I was first hearing this from Randy, I didn't quite understand the importance of this discovery. So just to spell it out, Randy just discovered that Clarissa's mom was actually adopted. And Clarissa's mom, whose name is Bernice, the biological last name she was born with is Stoltz. Who else is a Stoltz? Say it with me. Taylor. Very good. So there are 2 mysteries. The first is, why is Stoltz coming up so much in Clarissa's DNA? He knows that she's tied to that family somehow, but he doesn't know who her mother is in the Stoltz family. That is solved with this because now we know that she was adopted and her biological name is Stoltz. The second mystery is how Robin and Clifford connect to the Stoltzes. We still don't know the answer to that, and we will get back to that. Okay, back to Randy.
I then kind of park the maternal side, and I'm looking at Robin, and I found a Clifford Jr. on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I take Clifford Jr.'s freshman high school photograph and I overlay it with Clarissa's grandfather.
Oh, he looks the same, doesn't he?
And there was an extremely strong resemblance.
Wow.
Just run through names one more time. So Clifford and Clifford Jr. and Ralph are all different people at this point in your story. Obviously, Clifford and Clifford Jr.
Yeah, but in the story they were. As far as the narrative went, I had all these different people. The 936 fit perfectly for a child of Ralph with another woman, not with his wife of the 12 kids, but he had a child with another. Turns out,
okay.
I had the conversation with Clifford Jr. I ping him a note on Facebook Messenger. Hey, can we talk? Yeah. I call him on Facebook Messenger and I explained who I was and what was going on. And my suspicion was that his father's name, Clifford, used to be Ralph, and that he had left his family in Indiana and gone to Florida. In researching Clifford Sr., he didn't exist before 1952. Sr., he disappeared from Indiana. Yeah.
Oh, my.
So name change.
He had a Social Security card application, 1952. Pre-52, no draft card, no census records, no birth certificate, just nothing. And I'm like,
they just take your word for it.
Before 1952 because you were busy playing Ralph. You were busy being Ralph. You walked and you started all over as Clifford. Had 6 kids.
Oh my gosh. So Ralph and Clifford are the same person. And okay, so Ralph left in 1952, disappears, and that's when Clifford is essentially born, except he's already a grown adult. That's crazy. As Clifford and a junior. Insane. Clifford Jr. is his fake name, a junior to a fake name.
Yeah. And Clifford had a daughter and Ralph had a daughter, both having the same name. Clifford and Ralph both had a junior son. The son that so there was these MOs that, dude, you did exactly. You just let's roll another one just like the other one. He went back and just played the same game again.
So Taylor's family thought he was murdered, and this whole time he just had another family in a different state.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I know that was a huge discovery. Let's just quickly recap exactly how he knows that Clifford and Ralph are the same stinking person. Because we know Clarissa is a Stoltz, and we found that her closest DNA match is Robin, who, to our knowledge, was not a Stoltz. And because we are seeing that Ralph Stoltz disappeared in 1952 and Clifford appeared in 1952, we can conclude that they are the same person. So Robin is technically a Stoltz too. Like, crazy. So, okay. Wow. So what do you do with that? Do you tell Clifford Jr. right away? Because that's big information to share.
I said, this is possible. This is what I'm looking at. I said, what do you think? He says, I don't know. I said, why? He says, my dad didn't talk about his family or life or history or anything like that. He says, he never spoke about any of it. He said, I don't know anything about it. He says, so it's very,
I wonder why.
He was a bit of a realist. He said, it's very possible that's exactly what happened.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I go back to it and I now realize that Ralph and Clifford are the same man. There were enough of the 12 children of Ralph that had their children or their grandchildren had tested that the only way that the amount that they shared and what they shared with Robin was that if she was their half aunt, great aunt as well. So it wasn't just Clarissa's relationship, it was what those other relationships also added up into the same thing. At the
This
beach,
ain't
I go back and I finalize who Ralph is Clifford. And I go back to Clifford Jr. and I say, this is like, he's like, well, nothing surprises me. What ultimately we found out was that Clifford had also walked out and abandoned his wife and 6 kids.
Yep.
And,
The second wife.
Yeah. And there are probably 6 or 8 different websites that do missing persons, like the DOE project, places like that. And Ralph was on there. And I knew that sitting on the Ralph story, people have a right to know what happened to Grandpa, what happened to Dad. He still had children that were still alive. And
Yes.
and I went on the LaGrange County Sheriff's Department's webpage, found a lady detective, sent it to her, and I didn't hear back. And it was 3 months, and I get a note. Yeah, we're wondering. Yeah, we're about to kind of looking at this, and maybe we're going to assemble some family and talk about it. Can you give me a call and walk me through it? So I called and basically went through everything as I'd done with you. So they went and they tested one of the children, Ralph's children, and
Ralph's children. Okay.
when
The
that came,
first
when that came,
Indiana family.
Yeah.
when that came back, it showed that she was a half sister to Robin in Florida.
Robin
Wait.
In Florida.
is
Oh.
the half great aunt.
Yeah, the half great
And
aunt.
that's a completely different family.
And she is a half sister to her. They share the same father. Ralph and Clifford
Oh.
are the same man. Of course,
So now what?
they then had the big ta-da, had all the news come in and family and stuff, and the detective spilled all the beans and said, this is what we found, and it made numerous news agencies across Indiana. Got excerpts from prints and videos from the newscasts and stuff of that, and they all on they went.
And did you have contact with the family? Obviously, we're here
Yeah,
talking to Taylor and you.
yeah. I had a message in the last couple of days with Taylor, and you know my name because of her, and I'm really happy because she's the epitome of why you do this. She is really the role model. She's the poster child for it all, because she cares. And it meant
Yeah.
a lot to her, and talking to
Of
her.
course.
Huge, huge piece on her. And to find this out, I did have some communication with maybe 3 or 4 of her cousins that said, "Thank you very much for finding this and all, and appreciate it." And there we are.
Wow. Okay. So that is the end of this episode's part with Randy's story as it pertains to Taylor's story. There was more to it that we did cut out a little bit because it was so complicated and it wasn't necessary for this part. However, we talk more about weird things that he found on this case, and we had tons of other questions just about DNA and genealogy investigating. We're going to put it on Patreon is the point. There's going to be an extended Randy interview on Patreon if you're interested in that. I had so many questions, but now let's get back to how his findings impacted Taylor. And where we are in the story is that Taylor is now finding out everything you just found out. It's being shared with her by this detective.
So here we were sitting all around my living room and my dining room, and the detective, and she started out by saying that Grandpa took off. He went to Florida.
Florida?
He changed his name. He
Wait,
had
keep
6
going.
more children.
What?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, he did. Everybody was just like, huh? Like, we're all kind of glancing around in disbelief. And she said he got a new Social Security card. And this was in August when he left. And they found his Social Security card had been changed in November. So he was pretty quick at it, almost like he had it planned. It's really odd. But we all were just, I mean, I felt pain for my dad because
Yeah.
my dad, this is something that nobody wants to hear, that your dad just took off.
Yeah.
And didn't care anymore about you. I mean, it appeared that way anyways. The kicker with this new family that he had, so he had this fake name. And he went down there and he had these 6 kids, and they, 3 boys, and they have the fake name.
Yeah.
And the girls, of course, their names change when they get married, but the boys, one was named after him. One of the aunts was named the same as my aunt up here.
No.
Yes.
What?
One of the boys was named the same as my uncle up here. And
So he was just like
yes,
copying
it's weird, very
Oh,
weird.
the
my
family
God.
again?
And he
That's
also
weird.
I forgot to mention this, but he actually was adopted. And so his real name, he named one of his kids.
Wait,
And
hold on.
his
His
What?
real he
the-
changed his
What?
name.
The
Wait, walk me
second-
through that.
What?
The second family had not only an aunt with the same name as up here, so he had 2 kids with the same name. He had a son that had the same name as one of the ones up here. And then one son was named with his biological name.
Oh
Mhm.
my God. What?
Yeah.
So he had a biological name, then he had a name that you all knew him as, and now he has a third identity name.
Yeah. Yes.
What?
So I know. It's unbelievable. It just crazy. When I listen to your guys' podcast, I'm like, I think my grandpa was one of the first dogfish that ever.
A
Well,
Your
true
grandpa's a
dogfish.
dogfish OG.
So
Yeah.
what else did she tell you? And was there any contact with his new family?
Well, she said that the family had just been told, and our family was like, wow, we had 70 plus years to know there was something. We didn't know
Yeah.
what, but we
Right.
all had a knowledge that there was something up, but they had nothing. They only knew him as one person. They only knew him as,
Oh
you
my
know,
God.
and so this was like a huge shock to them. Now, we have had communication with some on Facebook, which has been really great. And our family wanted to give them a lot of space to
Yeah.
kind of talk amongst themselves and everything. I did make a
like
page.
process.
Yes, because it's a lot, especially you're thinking, I have a fake name. I mean,
Oh my
the
God.
one son, the oldest one, was named after his fake name. It's like you're a junior to,
To
just
nothing.
really
Like
sad.
To a
Yeah,
nobody.
oh,
just really, really
man.
sad. So it was a few weeks, but I did reach out to the son, the oldest son, and talked to him for about an hour, and it was really interesting. He told me about a fire that they had. Him and his sister were at school, and this young 19-year-old actually came to the house, saw the fire, came to the house. My grandfather was in a wheelchair. He had had a stroke, and they took him, and this kid went in the house 5 times to save everybody from this fire. And he got an award. It was really something. I got a copy of the report or the story, and it's really, really something. I'm not quite sure how he would have felt if he really knew what kind of a man my grandfather was, but nevertheless, he saved them all. But my grandfather had had a stroke. Now, when I talked to the oldest son, he said they weren't very close. He had actually left them, and for a short period.
Wait,
where
who? Your grandpa had left his family too?
the
family?
second family, yeah.
Oh God.
And I'm not sure where he went or how. They didn't know either how long he'd been gone. But the oldest son, he was like probably 10, and he said, wow, so your dad had less time with him than I did, and I didn't have much time with him. And it really hit, because it's like, how in the world men, women, they make these decisions not thinking or caring, I don't know, but they touch so many different lives, and they put so much pain for so many. And I'm sure my grandfather never thought this was ever going to come to light, but it did. And there's no getting around it. It's true. So we connected that other family. We would love to meet them. Meanwhile, I wasn't sure if my dad would want to. He's buried down in Florida. And so I found out where he was buried. I called the cemetery. I have yet to talk to them again. I told them that someday I would be able to tell them the story, but I couldn't tell them the story then because I didn't want it to get out and the other family not have enough time to process it. So they told me that he was buried. There was a lot that was about 8 people, and it was a lot that people that couldn't afford burials, or they would have that space for them. So he's buried there. There's they had a paper that was drawn out and has his wife's name on there. And so she was the contact person. And so they know that he's there, but there's no marking. So we can put one in there. We just have to let them know, and they'll mark it down, and then we can take whatever marking,
Oh my God.
Now,
what marking do you put?
that is the thing. I think, honestly, we'd have to put both names on there.
Yeah.
For the respect of the other people.
For the respect of the family who knew him as something different.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I think that's the only thing we can do. But
what about his wife that he married after? What's her story?
She has a story too. I don't know all of the story. I did ask if she knew my grandfather when he was, married up here with my
good
grandmother.
question.
Like, was
Did he
she the
leave
one
for
who
her?
came and
Yeah.
pick him up? And they didn't think that they did. But they did hear that my grandfather had other children.
Oh, so like maybe he said he had a previous maybe he did say he had a previous marriage.
I don't know.
Or
I don't
other
know the
kids.
details, or if their mom just said, hush hush, we don't talk about it. Now, what was interesting, this wife, she actually came from Pennsylvania, and she had a family out there of 6 children that she left, and a marriage that she left.
Did she disappear the same way, or she just left?
I think she got divorced, and then she wasn't allowed to take the children.
Went the typical path.
Yes, but she didn't have a relationship with those children. And only one child came to Florida, I guess, to see them one time, and that was it. So she kind of had a backstory that, sounds pretty painful too.
Wow.
It's, when I tell people the story, well, years ago when I used to say my grandpa came up missing, they're like, what? Like, how does he come up missing? I'm like, I don't know. It just happened. And tell them as much as I knew. But now when I tell the same people, guess what? We found out what happened to my grandpa, and he was a jerk.
Oh,
wow. That is, oh my gosh.
And they're like, what? That is so crazy. And my husband and I were at a funeral one time. There was a lot of Amish people there, and we were in line. It took a while, and so we were introducing ourselves. And when I said my last name, they're like, we heard something about that. And I'm like, what? Because they were from Pennsylvania. They were like, weren't from around here. And I'm like, you have? And they're like, Oh yeah. Has that become a book? We need to hear that. That was in our youth newsletter or something like that. I'm like,
Oh my gosh, this is the talk of the Amish gossip
oh, it
train.
was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. It was I was
It
just
should be
in
a book.
awe. It's something. I tell you, it's crazy.
I
But
have a question.
sure.
Do you know why the police and the FBI were being so sketchy and
Well,
Yeah,
rude?
like
I believe we do, but we don't have any copy. The detective was meeting with the FBI. They have had a report of some sort, and
Mhm.
she was meeting with them to be able to give us a copy of it. They won't let her.
What?
Yeah.
What?
The county said it's not their letter to give. It's not their report to give, so they're not able to give us a copy.
Whose report is it to give?
Yeah.
The FBI's, I guess. There is a thought that he was found years ago and didn't want to be found. And I don't have anything to prove that. I guess to answer your question, I think they might be trying to protect the FBI.
I was about to
Yeah.
say they're covering their
Maybe he
ass.
bribed somebody or
He
something.
may have, he may have.
Something
Maybe he
that's
did
to have
something.
that many identities and get away with it for that long is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how do you, I don't even know, not that I'm interested, but like, where does one start with changing your social security? Where does somebody even begin? Obviously, this was in the 50s, but like changing your social security number, erasing the paper trail. I don't even know how one does that.
I don't even know where they start.
Okay, if
It's
Mackenzie
almost
doesn't
like
know,
you-
then your grandpa's very smart.
You know how sometimes you get customer service and it's like depending on who you get determines what kind of outcome you're going to get for whatever your problem is with customer
Sure.
service. And I feel like it's something like that. Like if I go, sometimes I've gone to the DMV and they're like, oh, this is fine. And other times you're like, no, you need this.
Yeah.
And sometimes and I
Mm.
feel like these are people who know how to, they know who they can manipulate to get the information. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
have you
Yeah.
ever seen Catch Me If You Can? And
Yes.
how he knows what to say to who to get what he wants from whoever.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that probably is a really good point that I'm sure that my grandfather knew just what to do, how to do it. And back then, they didn't have all the double checks, it was like you
Right.
could just
It's not
walk in
all
and
online.
go in and say, I lost my card and I need it so I can work, so I can get food on the table, or whatever the case was. I mean, nobody expects them to have a different name and have 12 other
Yeah.
kids up and just crazy.
Yeah, you don't assume that.
Yeah.
It makes sense that you said he sold hogs the night before and had a lot of cash on him. That
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
maybe the men he was playing cards with helped in some capacity.
It's possible.
Oh, okay.
Like
Because
maybe
you're dealing in shady people, you know shady people.
Yes. They hang with the same crowd,
Mhm.
don't they?
What else?
Yeah.
Are there any other puzzle pieces that you feel like have been put together for you?
I think that just knowing the truth, as painful as it is, it's something that our family can put to rest. It is a huge, like, what? Are you crazy? Are you kidding? In fact, the detective, she was like, I know this is a lot. And we were all just looking at each other like, this is unbelievable. I mean, it is hard to swallow. And afterwards, we're all sitting around. We did talk to him. Randy, it was all of Randy. I mean, he did not have to reach out to the detective. So grateful that he did. Otherwise, we'd still be, thinking he got murdered, Yeah.
Do you feel
it's
more
something.
relieved that he wasn't murdered, or do you feel like you almost would have rathered that than known the deception?
Yeah, I think the deception is worse because
Yeah.
if he would have been murdered, would have
It's sad, but
may have
like
been something he
also-
did, but we could have accepted that. But the
Yeah.
fact that he took off 12 children plus grandchildren, because at that time he had some, to think that he just took off,
He intentionally
no
and
big deal.
purposefully
Yes,
hurt all these
left them.
people.
and
Yeah.
left my grandmother to work like a slave. I mean, she really worked hard to try to keep things up, you know?
And to leave no legacy except for this one.
Yeah, right. It's sad to me that she died without knowing.
Did she ever remarry or
Oh,
find
no,
anyone?
no. In that culture, there was no doing that. If he would have been murdered, something, that would have been different, but no, she would have never done that.
That it's not sad anyway, but that adds another layer to
Right.
it. Him
Yeah.
knowing the impact it would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was a pretty strict woman. She had to be. She, you know, she had these boys that were, you know, hellions. You know, they had nobody to control him, and she was working. It was pretty crazy. I mean, the stories that they tell is just unbelievable, but good stories. I mean, they're all very loving, kind people. My family is, if nothing else, they are all good people. And
So do you think
so
is the most affected by this? Like by this, do you think it's and do you stay in touch with like the new family, or is there any?
yeah, we're on Facebook with each other, a lot of
Okay.
us. And so they'll have like their birthday or they'll show their grandkids or whatever. And we're always commenting and stuff like that. And we have, you know, discussed, some of them still live in Florida, not all of them,
Mhm.
but some of them. And we've discussed going down there and meeting and getting together and sharing some time together as a family.
Yeah. How would that feel to
Wow.
learn about him and the person he became? Like, is that something you're interested in, or are you almost like,
Yeah,
I got my closure?
I don't think that they will really know much about his.
Right, because he left them pretty young too,
Yeah,
right?
and their moms are gone. So the only person I was able to talk to was the one that was named after him, and he
Mhm.
said that he was really a great person. Like he was really fun and he was loving and kind. And in fact, when he did leave, the son told me, he said, I wish you would have took me with him, you know. It was
Oh
just that's how much, yeah.
no.
And so, you know, I'm sure that if he really was that kind of person, you know, he was adopted, and maybe some of that, you know, I don't know if that caused some of his decisions, you know, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Trauma.
But, you know, I think that back then a lot of people didn't get the help that they needed if they did, and didn't really think much about it, you know, they just moved on.
Mhm.
And it is devastating to so many people. I mean, what he has done hurt a lot of people, you know,
Yeah.
for many, many
Yeah.
years. And my generation, my cousins, we're all shocked about it, but the pain isn't with us, you know. The
Right.
pain that we feel is pain for our parents, you know. They had like a press release, and I wasn't able to be there because I had the flu, but I had went over to see my dad prior to that because I wanted him to know before it went on. And I said, Dad, I just want to tell you that they're going to do a press release about Grandpa, and I just want you to know ahead of
Oh.
time, you know. And he was like, okay. And that's all he said, you know.
He's
My
just
brother
numb to
had
it.
called after we found out after the meeting that my brother got a hold of my dad and told him. He said, well, we just heard, we know what happened to Grandpa. And so he told him, and then my dad just told him that, well, just keep it up there. I'll talk to you when I get home. But, you know, it was just a lot of pain. A lot of pain.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. That's
That's
terrible.
hard
Like
to imagine.
he was an OG dogfish for real.
I know. And I thought, what are they going to say? I don't know if they're going to want to hear this because it's such an old story. But I'm like, well, I think he is one of the first dogfish stories there is, you know.
Well, that's what I was just going to say is how grateful I am to hear the story from your perspective, because I think we do hear a lot of stories of the immediate, usually a straight couple, where we hear it immediately, the impact on that person, which is obviously devastating.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't think a lot about how it impacts generations to come, whether in good and bad ways, because in
Yeah.
some ways, this is your family's lore. This is
Yeah.
what has kept some of you probably even closer knit than you might have been
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, in a twisted sort of way. And it also makes you reevaluate your history and your I just like where you came from. This makes me think of so many, just what the aftermath, the ripple effect of a dogfish.
So he had 19 children.
Whew.
Lord.
One died when he was a baby, but yes, that's a lot of kids. I mean, and my husband said, well, he left that family for a while, so maybe there's some more out there we just don't know about.
And
And
you just don't
it's
know.
so true. But if they get DNA, we'll know, because can't
Well,
get
ask
away
Randy.
from that. Yeah.
The
Do you feel
DNA
like-
never lies.
How do
No.
y'all feel about like the uprise of 23andMe and all of those? Like, are you all about it, or is it kind of weird knowing what it can reveal?
It's crazy how much you can find, and people that study that and do it all the time. And Randy, he is amazing, and the stuff that he uncovers, and he doesn't just uncover something and go, oh, this is the way it is. He does the research, so that it's true. And I'm grateful for that, because we definitely don't want to hear the story until we knew that it was, and the detective
For
was really good
sure.
about that. She's like, this is true.
You
This
want to
is
be
not,
confident about it.
we know this is true. It's in black and
Yeah.
white. They had taken a
Thank
DNA
goodness she did her due
of my
diligence.
aunt, and then once that came back, it was already confirmed, but it was better to have a sibling or his child. And so it was awesome. It was really,
Mhm.
really awesome. I think it's a wonderful thing, not for people that want to hide themselves or
Yeah,
be
sure.
secrets,
Not for the Golden
but,
State Killer.
but
His whole spot was blown up from that.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
yeah. So yeah, I think it's amazing that people can find other family members. I mean, there are families out there that have found, their own families, and it's crazy. I love the fact that we're able to do that.
Ooh, man.
It's true. There's so much information we have access to now, and
I know. Isn't that crazy how much information we have?
It
I
is
like
crazy.
to think it makes it harder to dogfish.
Yeah.
Dogfish are still going to dogfish, but we're making
They
it
still gonna
a little
dogfish.
harder.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh
Absolutely.
my gosh.
Man. Well, thank you for sharing it with us, though, because I bet other people have experienced things like this where they just
Mhm.
find things out about their history that changes the way they look at their whole family.
Yeah,
And
and
that's a weird feeling.
I think that, that was one part of me wanting to share, because I'm sure my grandpa's not the only one out there doing that, or had done it back in the day. And so if you have any idea of being able to use DNA, man, it works. You can't run from that.
Told you, OG dogfish. Oh, like to the point you have more than one name on your epitaph. What's it called? An epitaph? A thing where you
Epitaph.
die in.
Your gravestone, your epitaph.
Yeah, your gravestone. Crazy.
Well, let's talk about how many dogfish were dogfishing for years that we will never know about, or maybe we'll start to know about with the popularity of DNA
And the
investigating.
internet.
Like,
because back then they didn't have the internet and they didn't have DNA.
you could truly just walk out of your home, never come back, and reinvent yourself. And so I did a little digging specifically in Florida, but I'm sure it was very similar everywhere. Just because I was like, how do you change your social security number? How do you I don't know. I'm just intrigued by that process. And it's actually not that interesting because it's not that hard back then. Today, it would be hard, but they didn't have centralized identification records. In
Right.
Florida, you could really just if you had a strong enough birth record document, even if it wasn't
Yes.
real, which I guess is probably today, but it didn't even have to be a birth certificate. It could be like a baptism. It could be school records,
Anything.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, you can just, I don't know, you can just find your own little set of documents and say one got lost or one got smudged and call it a day.
And no one can prove or disprove anything. Like you could just say this
No.
is who you are. And back in the day, they had no choice but to be like, yep.
Yeah, a lot of dogfish back then that we just didn't Nobody had any way of figuring out.
I actually, along these lines, might have a dogfish story of my own in my family.
Mackenzie!
I don't know. I got to talk to my mom and see if she'll let me share, but I think it would be interesting to know.
I feel like in some ways it's not to this extent, because I know in my family it's not, to my knowledge, not to this extent, but there are pieces of information that I found out because I was looking on ancestry.com, like I didn't know my aunt was going by a nickname the whole time. Like little things like that, and sometimes bigger things. And today with 23andMe and whatever, it's like, yes, they're solving these big murders like the Golden State Killer, or you just mentioned Jack the Ripper, but they're also changing individual lives with the way they're revealing stuff about your past.
I'm so curious now.
Yeah, you have to report back.
I'm gonna ask my mama. I'm gonna ask her.
Okay.
She'll be like, no, but it's fine. We'll ask
We
her.
can anonymize it. We do that really well. I mean,
Yeah,
I guess if it's
we'll-
your story, people will figure it out.
I'll be like, this is not my family story. And then they'll know that it's not my family.
This is just you wrote. Yeah, exactly.
I'm already the black sheep. What are y'all gonna do? Kick me out?
This is crazy. So he up and left. The single mom, her grandma, is such a strong woman. And I'm thinking about that too, where it's like that's who we would be talking to if this was happening today. Like we would have had her on. And now it's like, if dating detectives had existed back then, would she have had to put her head down so much and be so just plowing forward without dealing with it? I'm grateful that we live in a time with the dating detectives. Call me biased.
I feel like we're finding out so much more information than we ever realized could ever be true with the, how the up and comings of internet and DNA and genetics and all these things. It's incredible to me.
And it's revealing how many people are going through stuff like this, and you're not the only person or family or woman that's had a husband leave them. Like his second wife had the same thing. He left her too. I mean, it's pretty wild. But I almost want to like dedicate this episode to all of the women who had to deal with dogfish in silence over over history, before there were advocates and people
and before there were resources
spoke up for them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And resources to get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely.
And double dedication if you had 13 children, because she just sounds like the fact that she raised a group of people that are also wonderful despite this generational trauma.
But that's a lot of therapy. Like all it takes is one person to deceive a group of others, and so many people can be hurt by that. That's a lot of therapy.
Yeah, we talk about the initial impact of dogfish a lot, but we don't always talk about the generational trauma of it. And I wish we could get through to some of these people who don't think about those consequences before they make those decisions. Mm-hmm. And if we get through to even one, I guess we'll call that progress. But it's so real. Yeah. We don't think about it.
Man.
The fact that he was able to find her family through this search for biological parents, Randy, is so interesting to me. And it's like he does what you do in a different way.
Yeah. And so that's interesting because I was actually just sharing with one of my friends, when you're looking for information, someone could look for 5 years for a biological parent, like someone who's adopted. I've had someone look for someone for like 5 years for someone they're related to, and they couldn't find them, but it took me less than an hour. And that's because we underestimate how everyone is connected. Like you underestimate that your mom's brothers, sisters, cousins, nephews married into this family, and how you don't realize how the webs are very, 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 very connected. And so when you can, especially with genetics, like you can't deny that. So with me doing my investigation, I'm putting together pieces that may or may not be, and I have to find proof. And then if you're a geneticist, I'm sorry, his name Randy, right?
Mm-hmm.
if you're a geneticist like Randy and you can find this information like based on these connections, these physiological, like
Threads.
biological connections, yeah. And there's no denying it. And so it's, oh man, crazy. It's so cool.
Have you ever worked with a geneticist or somebody in that area for a case, or not had to?
No, not me personally.
But I'm sure there's overlap among
Oh,
those types of
absolutely there
investigators.
is. And there are ways because it's still really young, like it's not something that's easily done. It can be done. If you're a fan of Paul Holes is really great. He's a true crime guy. He's someone who talks a lot about DNA and using DNA to, track down serial killers and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I think that it's still, as much as we talk about it, we're like DNA, since like, all these cases for the last 20 years, but it's still not super, super common for investigation, especially for private investigation, but for a family to be able to just go to to have a geneticist find somebody, that's not super common yet.
Yeah. There's a whole conversation around it, because sometimes I think about
Yeah.
it's such valuable information to have people's genetics in the wrong hands. That can be really scary. But also, I mean, it's like I have nothing to hide, and I assume authorities probably know most about me anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I think about the
Yeah.
over, not that I'm the person they're really looking for, but it's just, I don't know. It's just a whole interesting new world that we live in. I want to hear if people have had experiences with DNA testing that have led them to information, good or
Yes.
bad, dogfish.
Yeah. What have you experienced with that? And are you the member of a family where someone in your family has not? Wow.
Well, and also, how do you then, I'm sure how many people have had the conversation where they're like, ooh, that's not my dad.
Yeah.
How do we
that's
bring this up
nuts.
to the
Freaking nuts.
fam? Like that, I see that happening on TikTok all the time.
I just see it being so traumatic for some. But if you have your own story, we'd love to hear it. You can email it to us, investigate@thedatingdetectivespodcast.com, and share with us what you're experiencing. And if you have questions, send them over. If you have, comments for our guest, we would love to share them with her.
Yeah. And nice words to share with Taylor, because she was so sweet. And also, I just love the way she handled, like at the end when she was like, yeah, I guess I am kind of a leader in the family. It's like, no kidding. And I would follow you anywhere.
100%. Yes. Absolutely.
So we always try to pass along kind messages to our guests, because this is the reason we are able to have a show, because people are so brave and want their story to help you guys. So thank you for submitting.
Mm-hmm.
And whether we read it on Patreon or on an episode, it's a huge, huge thing for a lot of people. So thank you. Oh, this was a very different story for us.
Yeah, it's pretty different, but it's still interesting. And I'm excited that we got to that. I'm excited that Taylor trusted us to share that, because I know there was some stuff, you guys, that she did not want recorded, and I don't blame her.
Yeah.
And so it's still very vulnerable for her. Like, some people think, oh, this is old, this is whatever, but this was very intense for her. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your support for our guests.
And that is a reminder that if you're hesitant to share a story, we do anonymize everything. We work with a legal team, and we are with you every step of the way. Our producer Molly's amazing, and we just, whatever you're comfortable sharing about your story, we always are respectful of that. So we really are always ready for you when you're ready for us.
Yeah. And thank you for being here. And as always,
trust your fem tuition.